Boston is known for its reliance on triple-decker housing stock.
A triple-decker gives Boston an identity.
In Boston, you just live in a triple-decker.
If you ask anyone from Boston to explain what a triple-decker is, they will likely describe to you an image of one of about 16,000 three-family homes that line the streets of the city. They are often overlooked as just another housing typology. Yet, the triple-decker's importance goes beyond being just a place to live. Its existence is an integral part of the history of Boston and the city as we know it today.
The triple-decker started in earnest really around 1870. There are a couple of them that are a little bit older than that, but almost entirely it was a big building boom in the 1870s.
They were made to look like or resemble single-family homes, but to have a little bit more density, and just 3 stacked wooden apartments. And it was really fascinating to see the different variations that came about it.
They were the affordable alternative, particularly for an extended family that might live in one unit, have seniors or children living in a second unit, and then rent out the third unit in order to offset the costs of managing the property.
It was a great way to have a house built that you allowed recently arrived immigrants to buy up a whole building, rent the other 2 for sustaining their income, having a balance, or make their way into middle class way of life, and in just 1 or 2 generations, which was unheard of.
Boston is a city that in so many ways has been built by waves of immigrants, right? And so the rise of the triple-decker, I think, shows a certain amount of optimism toward creating safe and healthy and livable spaces with access to the outdoors for the immigrant populations that have lived here and have come here.
My name is Fabiola Lanes. I'm a senior at Boston Latin School. I currently live in Hyde Park. I lived in a triple-decker in East Boston from like the ages of 5 to 13. In that house and like that neighborhood, my mom and I ended up meeting a lot of people like on our street and like the corner. So yeah, we definitely knew a lot of people in the area. I think like the big point was like, because we were all like Spanish speaking, like we came from Spanish speaking cultures, so like that was an easy way, especially for my mom. She didn't know English either, so that was like easy for her to just kind of like get to know people in the US, and that's how like she made friends and stuff. So
hi, my name is Lynn, and this is my dad, Leo Burke, and this is my sister, Alicia Burke, and we all grew up together in Jamaica Plain in a triple-decker.
So yeah, when we were here, it was all Burkes.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Yeah, I remember
Mom
when
and Dad probably loved it because our aunt would come babysit us she at night.
would, yeah, exactly.
And Mom and Dad would leave and she would be there, and then as soon as they left, she'd go upstairs and get the contraband soda. But it was nice because there was always somebody around. So I don't know, you never really felt like you were alone. Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Nikki, and I've lived in Dorchester, Fields Corner area for like my whole life. And I've moved about like 4 times in my entire life, and all of the houses have been triple-deckers. In Dorchester, at least, a lot of Vietnamese people live in triple-deckers, so it's easy to like make connections and talk to people and kind of get like it's just easier to live in triple-deckers, price-wise and also people-wise.
I'm Jason Gallagher, and I am the head of school here at Boston Latin School. I lived in a triple-decker for the first 16 years of my life in Charlestown, and then moved out of that and lived in public housing for a little bit. And then when I got married, my wife and I with my family, we actually lived in 2 different triple-deckers as well. So I've lived in a triple-decker 3 times in my life. It's like the closest of the community that we're in, that it was, you open the door and everyone was there. So I missed that part of it for sure.
Background. Sure. I'm Renee Omalade. I am a BPS alumna, a BPS parent, and the director for Boston Community Health Schools for BPS. I lived in a triple decker a few times. I lived all in Dorchester. Once when I was maybe like ages like 12 to 15 behind JFK. And then 15 to like 18 behind Charlotte maybe like 19 to 23. I lived on Trent Street, kind of like behind Fields Corner. Like it's just, it's not even like a decision. It's just another housing option. Oftentimes it's the most affordable housing option because, it's not a lot of space, but so landlords are able to probably like bring the rates down a little bit, and there's just like a lot of them. So
my name's Laura, and I grew up in Los Angeles and then Northern California. I moved to Northern California when I was like 8 or 9, and ended up coming to Boston for grad school, and I never left. And I've been living in this home for 10, 11 years now. Before I lived across the street on the second floor for another 3 years. And in between these two homes, I was in 2 other places in JP, just for like 2 or 3 years. When we first moved in, it was mostly because of the, again, how inexpensive it was. But once I had lived in a triple decker, I actually, she ended up needing to move back into her house, the one we were renting from during the 2008 financial crisis, because her house she had to sell. And so she moved back into her triple decker, which I think is saying something. She was in a big house in Brookline and then came back to the triple decker, and she was very happy there. So I think that speaks also to just how livable this small space is. After that, we couldn't find a triple decker to live in, and we went to 2 other places, and I just did not like them. And then when this opened up for purchase, we tried to get it, and I feel so lucky. And when we moved in here, my son was 2, and now he's 13, and it was like the best place to raise a kid.
My name's Gary Anderson. I'm a highway maintenance worker, been in the same job for 30 years. I've owned this place for 20 now. To make money, but also be able to live rent-free, that was the primary reason.
Yeah, my name is Robert Oakes, and I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher in the I've been teacher for almost for 28 years, and most of those in Boston Public Schools. The one that probably where I spent the longest time was in North Cambridge on Rice Street, and that was a big old triple decker. I also lived in that same neighborhood off of Mass Ave. This is in way North Cambridge, like not far from Arlington. I was living there in the 90s. I lived in Jamaica Plain in a triple decker in the late 80s. So I also lived in East Boston for a while, South Boston for a little while. I lived in a lot of different neighborhoods. I was just always looking for whatever was cheapest, and when I was looking for apartments, and what was available to us were the triple deckers. So.
When it comes to the history of housing in Boston specifically, that the triple decker or other similar building types they were really essential in that they were fulfilling a specific need.
I think my aunt on my dad's side, his sister was the first to immigrate here, and it was easiest for her to rent a room within a triple decker. And then later on, as she helped my grandma come over here and the rest of her family come over here, we just ended up always living in triple deckers.
Well, the whole point is to own a house, a 3-family house. You had the rents to the tenants to help pay the mortgage. And it made it more affordable.
I think it was the rent was cheap, so that's where we ended up. Yeah.
My parents could afford to purchase their own home, and so we rented a floor of a triple decker. When my wife and I first got married and we had a son, we again were trying to save money so we could buy a house, and we had the option of living in a couple of triple deckers. You know, the first one had 2 bedrooms, so it was enough for our family while we were trying to save to buy a house. And then the second one, we needed another bedroom, so it was a 3 bedroom and a triple decker. And again, we were saving to try to buy a house. So, and we really wanted to stay in Boston, so it was our best option to stay in the neighborhood.
I do believe that the amount of community that is in this neighborhood is largely owing to the triple decker.
Triple deckers, I think, kind of give that opportunity for people to just, you kind of have to know each other because you live together basically, even though you live in like different parts of the house. But
like food, I think, is a really big part of bringing people together. And so if you invite someone like over to your house, or if you like welcome your neighbors with a meal or something, like I think that's really, it helps bridge any gaps.
And being out in the summer and the back porch eating dinner, like you say hi to everyone.
And so that close proximity and community building, I think, has been really desirable for a lot of people.
I was definitely like a very like close neighborhood.
Triple decker memories. Yes.
We used to go sledding down this alley, and we would go straight out into the street, and that was just like part of it. Like if a car was coming, We just hope for the best.
Memories of like getting refrigerators in like through balcony doors and like having to take doors off of furniture just to like get them upstairs in awkward like angles and stuff like that.
With my kids in the triple deckers, I just love the fact that what was pretty cool about our triple deckers, we had like one with like a long skinny hallway, and it was the best place for my son Devin to learn how to walk, because he could like just go straight ahead without bumping into stuff, and he was like, and so he learned how to walk. I'd stand on one end, my wife stand on the other. He just learned how to walk in the hallway, just going back and forth, and he had this thing he would push up and down the hallways. So that was pretty cool too. But and it was a lot of fun, and also looking back, you realize some of like how hard it was to live there. You know, we've been lucky to have pretty good neighbors, and at the same time, as adults, I think we did more of like the banging with the broom on the ceiling of like, get too loud, knock it off, you know, that type of thing.
I mean, it certainly wasn't all fun and games.
I think everyone's experience might be a little bit different, but I think those differences will all depend on who the neighbors were upstairs or downstairs from them, because that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much I miss there because it was so small. I remember looking at my house the other day and I'm like, this kitchen was the size of like the whole living room.
I think triple deckers are really old. They've been here since like, I don't know, the beginning of time, like when people first started immigrating here. So that's why they're like all made of wood, and people always try improving their triple deckers. Sometimes like fires start and you don't even know why. I have 2 friends who lived in triple deckers and nobody knows what caused the fire.
It started on the 3rd floor, and I remember like people like from the other houses, they walked to this house and like they were coming into the house and helping people get out.
In different neighborhoods, I think the triple decker experience is different.
Today, I think 90% of all affordable housing built in my lifetime has been in 2 neighborhoods. And what does that tell you? Why can't somebody live in an affordable house in Back Bay? Why can't somebody live in an affordable house in Chinatown? There needs to be affordable housing built in all neighborhoods.
I don't know. I don't think people who struggle to pay for rent should be like separated from the rest of the population.
In Boston, as the rent is rising, like it's hard to actually find a place to live.
I think like when we moved in, we didn't plan on ever leaving, but I do remember like towards the end, like the rent definitely started to become higher, and my mom was like talking a lot about that because like the landlord wasn't an awful guy. Like I remember we were always cordial with him, but my mom did not love him, and then towards the end, like it just became like more difficult to keep our apartment because I think like the apartments around us were going higher in rent, and so the landlord obviously wanted to charge more, but like we couldn't afford it. So that was like one of the things that I remember towards the end, like kind of why we also left.
No, good. Everything
The
else.
house in 1950 cost $10,000.
Wow.
And I think each one of the flats must have went close to $1 million
When they condoed it out.
in their condo.
Yeah, I think when it's landlord renters, it potentially has it can keep more families in the city, whereas condo purchase, super expensive.
What that has meant is that it is extremely difficult to stay ahead of the population growth in the city because there aren't enough affordable units that are being built to keep up with the demand of working people who want to continue to live and work in the city. And that in turn has negative effects on the ability of employers to be able to hire the workforce that they need. It makes it a lot harder for working people at the airport, for example, to be able to live in East Boston or Chelsea or near-in areas because they just can't afford to, particularly if they're earning as little as $15 or $16 an hour, and the expectation is that they're going to be living in an apartment unit that may cost them $2,000 a month.
Well, housing should be a human right, and everybody should have access to fair, good housing, period. So cities have to maintain that.
We need to be able to give people an option as to where they want to live, because some people have options already, but not everybody does. And so I think that really talking about the triple decker or other forms of multifamily housing at this scale is really important to say. We just want to give people options.
The triple deckers are an amazing building type.
Just everybody's close together on Thanksgiving. You don't have to worry about like somebody's over there or over there. You get to kind of be with your family.
The backyard. Yeah, the backyard was really cool. Nana had this whole flower bed, and then there was a yard even behind that. Yeah, there were like stairs up. So to us, it felt like so huge, right?
Yeah.
I guess just the rental income.
So in my house, there was like it was a 2-bedroom, but then there was like a third room that was kind of like the office, but it ended up being my bedroom. I really liked it because I had like a tiny little bedroom, and you would want a bigger bedroom, but I don't know, I loved my bedroom, and it had like a glass door, and yeah, that was my favorite part of it, was my small tiny bedroom.
It's just the bay window where you could see everything going on Main Street, meaning like you could open the window and you could watch a parade go by, you could watch everything that's going on the street, good or bad, and I think that view is, and actually what was also pretty cool about that is the way the window stuck out is we would have this enormous Christmas tree that would go there. So when you're on the street, you could see our enormous Christmas tree hanging out, and that was pretty cool.
I think like with triple deckers, everyone just like, it's like very, because you live with people like all the time, so you're just always like used to facing people, and it's easier for people to talk to each other.
Okay, this is maybe silly, but I love the doorknobs and the community garden. This is my pot. I got my raspberries, my sage, which is really sad right now, and then hopefully we'll have some chives. I think my lavender just disappeared. Oh no, there it is. So yeah.
Having a porch and having some greenery around was always really key.
And the other thing that's really great about them is they come in so many different shapes and colors and decorations, which makes them both blend into their surroundings and create character on the streetscape. So I love them. People go by and take things for granted without understanding their time around, but when you start to look a little closer to anything, you start to see different changes, different ways of interpretation, or different stories.
I think it gives people a sense of stability.
It's actually a wonderful housing typology with access to light and air, and a place that so many people in the city of Boston have called home.